of the hour. We are back on the morning drive, and soon we are headed back to you at 866 Pit Lane. First, a trip to the hotline. We bring in the crew chief for Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Steve Letarte is in the house. Stevie, good morning.
What's going on?
Nothing much. How's your holiday?
Good. It was a blast. Trish and I took the kids up to New York City right before Christmas, and we spent 4 or 5 days in the city. Went to a couple shows, went ice skating in Central Park, and we had a good time. And then Santa was good. The Christmas was a blast, and basically we just did a little staycation. Stayed at the house from Christmas to New Year's, and enjoyed North Carolina a little bit, enjoyed our house a little bit, and now it's kind of back to the grind.
Tell me about it. How was New York? I mean, was it cold as hell up there?
Actually, I'll be honest, it wasn't. I mean, it was cool for me because I'm kind of a lightweight, though. So, but it was really nice. It was like 40 degrees. What we learned about our kids is, so my little boy's 9, is he's not a city guy. He wanted his mom's car to drive him around. He didn't like walking to all the places. But my little girl, my 7-year-old, now she's a city girl. She walked around singing Christmas carols, wanted to walk everywhere. Walk right
Let's
down
go shopping.
Didn't bother her. She loved everything about it.
That's pretty cool. Hey, how's the race car coming, man? I mean, you got a lot of bodies hung, and you ready to go?
Well, you know, Mike, I'm thankful that this isn't my first year in racing.
Yeah, I'll bet.
The stress is high for most, but I think maybe I'm finally getting to be an elder, and I'm just patiently waiting. You know, we have a lot of cars done. We have a couple speedway cars done, a couple downforce cars done, but they're not done. You know, they're done as far as we can go, but we're still waiting on some parts. You know, still waiting on some different pieces. You know, that's a big difference with this car is so much of it is no longer hand fabricated by our guys. You know, we're dependent on outside vendors to provide the deck lids, provide the sides, provide the quarter panels, provide the windshields, you know, and as we learn this new system and all these different outside vendors, we're kind of trying to understand how to do it. And, you know, but we know NASCAR's on top of it. You know, there'll be 43 cars in the Daytona 500, so we just got to patiently wait. We'll get enough parts to go test. We'll go to Daytona next week, try it all out, and go back to Charlotte the week after that, and we'll be on our way.
Yeah, but you race car drivers and you crew chiefs, you like having things that are in your control, things that you can have effect on, things that you can basically, you know, take care of and be in control of. How hard is it to come out of that mindset and say, well, we're waiting on this person, or we're waiting on this vendor, or it's up to this entity or this party to get things right for us, then we can do our job. How hard is that to come out of that mindset that you have everything in control and manufacture all your stuff and do whatever you want to do with whatever you have, or if you don't have it, you make it yourself?
Well, it's very uncomfortable, especially here in Hendrick Motorsports. You know, we've always, you know, Mr. Hendrick has always afforded us to have all the equipment and all the resources to build everything. You know, we bought as little, I think, as any team out there. So now in the shift in the direction of the sport and the manufacturers being even more involved, it's uncomfortable because it's a big change for a company like ours. You know, we are used to, exactly like you said, we would buy it, and if the vendor couldn't supply it, we would build it. And now, you know, we're not allowed to build it. It doesn't matter if we have the ability. You know, we have the ability to build this entire car, but we have to use the specific sheet metal provided by your manufacturer. You know, the deck lids and stuff are coming from a common supplier, like the roof flaps do. You know, so we're just kind of waiting for all these parts and pieces to come in. But, you know, we talk to everyone in the support, and NASCAR has a conference call every week, and we've been in good communication. We understand the timelines of everything, but it's just because it's supposed to come in, like you said, I'm not a real patient guy, I guess, because it's hard to just sit back and wait and assume it's going to be okay.
You know, there's a lot of setbacks when that happens, too, because they change things a lot. I know there was some issues with the windshields. Did you guys get all that worked out where they're doing the laminate windshield or something between the two pieces of Lexan or whatever?
I mean, yeah, the windshield is the perfect example. You know, we've used the same quarter-inch thick Lexan for years, and NASCAR is very proactive, and there's now a new technology that makes a safer windshield. It's you know, has better protection for intrusion or things that go through the window. So they have this new technology, and it's great, but, you know, 2 snags.
But you can't see out of it.
Windshield, you know, and you have to just wait.
Like I said, it's great technology, but you can't see out of it.
Yeah, you know, and you know it'll get resolved, but it's just, to your exact point, like, you know, that's just one more thing we have to wait on. But, you know, if anyone's ever built a house, They understand how it is. It'll be done, and then it'll be really done, and then it'll be really, really, really done, and then 30 days later you'll finally move in. And it's kind of the same way with building these cars. Is they look done. If a fan walked in, they'd say, "Oh man, that car's ready to go to the racetrack." Man, I walk in, I start to get a lot of heartburn because I see all the pieces we're missing. But we're all in the same boat, and I applaud all the manufacturers because the one thing about these cars is they look awesome. The more we get in our shop, you really start to see, that 13 car will be sitting next to that 12 car, and you really start to see the character in that 2013 car. I think they're going to look great on the racetrack.
Now, I'm looking at the testing schedule for next Thursday, a week from Thursday at Daytona on the 10th. And the garage opens at 7:30 in the morning. You're on the track at 9 for testing, 9 to 12 and 1 to 5 for 3 days, that Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And it says, beside practice, it says drafting sessions for every session. Is that by design? Is that a loose guideline? Is that what the expectation's going to be? Will there be much focus on single car runs at all?
Well, I think all NASCAR is really doing is in the years past, they used to require us to run by ourselves, to not draft for the first 2 days. And come the third day, I think we have learned with some of the tandem and some of the cooling issues, that perhaps it would have been better if we'd have drafted earlier. And, I expect a lot of teams to run by themselves for the first day. There's a lot to figure out with the car for ride height and attitude and how you want the car to go around the racetrack. But we do so much development work in the wind tunnel now that we don't really need to do a tremendous amount of single car runs. I think in a day or a little over a day, we can get everything worked out we want to get worked out. And we're excited to get drafting. We want to see how these cars drive, how they handle in the draft. Simple things like how bad does the sheet metal move around? Does the new panels buff it a lot more? Do they need to be braced different? There's a lot of things you can't do in a wind tunnel, and those are the things we have to put at the top of the list to go to Daytona with. And I'm sure you're going to see a lot of drafting. I mean, the big question mark is, will this car tandem? Will it push? Is the grill screen big enough, small enough, in the right area? There's a lot of questions that we're going to have to answer down there. So, that's kind of a responsibility of ours as race teams to help NASCAR out and answer those questions so we can provide a great race when we go back down there to start the season off.
Steve, are you allowed to reinforce, like, just say the hood, for instance? I mean, as we know that you want it to stay in form, and if it's moving around a lot, are you allowed to put additional, like some carbon fiber stuff under it, like we've done in the old style hood? What's NASCAR going to let you do there?
Well, I think we have some question marks still. I think all the sheet metal, like the sides and the roof and the quarter panels, you can brace up, especially with some carbon fiber paneling. You just have to have it pre-approved. But the question mark is the hood and the deck lid. This will be the first year that we run a composite hood and deck lid, which is going to be, I think, better for competition. It's a lighter piece. It's going to be easier to produce. I think it's a great direction for everyone to move, but there are question marks. What am I allowed to do to this hood? This hood's moving around too much. Am I allowed to add more to it? And those are the directions that I don't think we really have yet because no one knows. We need to get into competition and see, and I think that's where you have to be liquid as a race team and understand that you're not going to have all the answers. All the answers don't exist. So, it's a great question. I don't think I have the answer to that question yet. We're allowed to brace up a lot of stuff, but there are question marks in the hood, the deck lid, and some of the new areas.
You talk about some of the beginning stages of testing to be focusing on ride heights and all that. One listener's asking, what is that? What do you mean you're focusing on ride height?
Well, you see it a lot. At the downforce tracks, it seems pretty obvious that you want the front splitter to be right on the racetrack. It gets the center of gravity as low as possible. The car makes the most downforce with the splitter right on the racetrack. But at a speedway where it's not about downforce and it's about drag, it then becomes very unique on where you want to put the car. So, for instance, at Daytona and Talladega, NASCAR will mandate a tremendous amount of our rear suspension rules. The rear springs, the rear shocks, the geometry of the rear suspension is really all set by rules. So you can't really adjust how high or low the back of your car runs. You'd like to run it as low as possible, but the rules are going to mandate it'll go to X travel. Well, then with your car, with the Chevrolet, we need to decide where do we want the front of the car. Because with the bump stops, I can have it ride high, ride low. I can make it roll to the right, roll to the left. And all of those things, you have to find a compromise from the corner to the straightaway to find where that car has the least amount of aerodynamic drag. And, that's the best way to find speed at Daytona. So that you can do a lot in the computer. But at some point, you have to go to the racetrack and try it out. And, that's what we'll do.
What are you finding as far as the difference between what the computer's telling you and your experience at the racetrack? Do they mesh all of the time, or do you find differences where the computer will have you going one way or expecting to feel a certain thing the other way, and then your experience at the track is totally different, or do they always sync up?
Well, that's what makes NASCAR unique in my mind, and that is something that we have that I think we should really try to keep a hold of, is without data acquisition on the race cars at the race weekend, the computers are only as good as what you put in them. And with the lack of data, the programs become questionable, which is great for me, right? Because if a computer ran it all, I don't think you need crew chiefs. So, the beautiful is the computers are necessary. You have to have a great simulation program if you think you're going to keep up at this level, but it's not always right. And there are race weekends, and I think you've heard it like years ago. I heard Jack Roush say that was why they felt they were behind. I truly believe that's the case, that if your computer systems get behind, as a whole company, you can struggle, and that's where the racers have to come out and say, listen, I know it's saying X, but we keep doing that, and it's not working. We need to go a different direction. So, the computer, and especially now with the new car, with the old car, every race, every year, every day you have more information to put in it, the program gets more and more and more accurate. Well, there's a lot of unknowns to this program. This body is a completely different shape. We don't have a ton of wind tunnel time on it, and, we have to improve all that. That's some of the reasons why you go test it. That's why people ask. Like, you go, why aren't you fast? Are you worried that you're not fast? Well, testing isn't always about going fast. Testing is about learning. And sometimes you need to go slow to learn something. And as long as we learn and prepare, then we will try to go fast when we go back for the race.
One of the things that I've always seen to be a real challenge is in the wind tunnel, when you put the car in yaw, you can measure it. You can find out where the ride height needs to be. Where like you said, you're kind of married to the back, but you can alter the front up and down to complement the back. But what you can't, what we never could do anyway, Steve, is how in the world are we going to simulate? You can set a car in front of it, a car beside it, but the racetrack is the real deal. And we would find little things like a lot of times we would run the front just a little bit higher. It wanted to be down on the straightaway, but if you could just get one corner of it up a little more than the other, it seemed to draft better.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. That's the beauty. The beauty is we talk about computers, we talk about chassis dynos, engine dynos, wind tunnels, 7-posts, but we race on the racetrack. And those are all great tools, but they're only tools. They're not the sport. They don't generate the sport. They don't generate the great races. They generate faster race cars, and that's my job, is to provide the fastest race car I can to Dale Jr. to go try to win the Daytona 500. But those are all just tools, and the car with the most power doesn't win, and the car with the most downforce isn't guaranteed to win, and the best car in the wind tunnel isn't guaranteed to win. We still have to go race. That's the part of the sport I love the most, is we have to put a pit crew together, a race team together. You have a lot of opportunities to make mistakes. You have to be a mistake-free day and put yourself in position to win. And it all starts on the racetrack. And that's next week we're going to get down there. Hopefully it'll be nice and warm. I'm not a big fan of the cold weather. And, and we'll be making some laps. And I think it'll be cool. I think hopefully the fans will come out and check out the cars. I think they have their fan day down there. So it'll give them a chance to see some of the drivers. And we'll kind of get the 13th season truly kicked off.
Pre-season Thunder Daytona testing 1 week from Thursday at the World Center of Racing as we prepare for Budweiser Speed Weeks 2013. Glad you had a great holiday. Be safe tonight and enjoy the family. Enjoy New Year's Day. And welcome back to the office and the grind that makes up this stretch run all the way to Daytona here in the middle of February.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me on. It is. That 500's moved back a week this year, so it's going to be a long preseason here, but we're excited to get going, get some cars on the track, and hopefully it'll be good. Mike, I hope your dad gets feeling better.
Yeah, buddy.
He's out of the hospital. He's back home, and all is good. So.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Happy New Year.
See you. That's Steve Letarte, crew chief for Dale Jr. The NASCAR Sprint Cup